The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew. Jesus said to his disciples, "You are the salt of the earth. But if salt loses its taste, with what can it be seasoned? It is no longer good for anything but to be thrown out and trampled underfoot. You are the light of the world. A city set on a mountain cannot be hidden. Nor do they light a lamp and then put it under a bushel basket. It's set on a lampstand where it gives light to all in the house. Just so, you must let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your heavenly Father." The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
Some years ago, right around this time, when we read the Sermon on the Mount serially in daily Mass, I was offering a simple Bible study that tracked through the Sermon on the Mount as being sort of central to the teachings of Jesus. And one of the adolescent students in my class at that time came when we were to discuss the 6th chapter of Matthew, the middle part of the sermon. He came to class gleefully declaring that he had found a contradiction in the teachings of Jesus. And I say gleeful because, you know, that's how teenagers sometimes can be. They like to find contradictions in the things that adults teach them. And so he was ready to point out to me. And so the part where he found the contradiction was in chapter 6, what I think of as the Ash Wednesday reading, where Jesus tells us not to perform religious deeds in front of other people, but rather hide them in our closet where our Father who sees in secret can see them and reward us in secret. How does that jive with the same guy who just a chapter earlier said, "Let your light shine before others that they can see your good deeds and give glory to your Father in heaven"? Well, it does seem a little contradictory. Hide your good deeds, don't hide your good deeds. Tell other people about your good deeds. So I helped him to understand it wasn't a contradiction, but it is an important distinction. And it's especially an important distinction for us as Christians and as religious. It's a distinction that's very important in the public life and public teaching of Jesus Christ. It's a distinction that seems to be at the center of Jesus' teaching. It's the distinction between religion and good works that lead other people to God. You hear what I said? A distinction between religion and religious observance and good works that direct other people to God. The widow of Zarephath that we read about today in the first reading is upheld by Jesus in the midst of his public teaching in an argument with the most religious observant people of his time. She's upheld as a better example of what it means to be a son or daughter of his God, Jesus' heavenly Father, than those religiously observant ones. She, a non-Jew, was more faithful and had a deeper understanding of what it means to follow God than the religiously observant ones of Jesus' time, because she did good for someone in need. She trusted the words of a holy man and fed his needs even from her want, even from her lack. She and her son, ready to die, have their last meal and die. They have nothing. And yet, trusting in the words of Elijah, she gives what she has, all that she has. And of course, God rewards her for it. But she takes care of the needs of others. She reaches out in goodness and love. This is a light of a city set on a hill that cannot be hidden. This is letting your light shine before others that they can see your good works and give praise to your heavenly Father. And Jesus rewards her for that. Jesus says she's more faithful than even the most religiously observant ones. And I think that's a really, really important distinction for us. So what is Jesus criticizing? Well, it's not so much that he's criticizing. He's just saying that we shouldn't spend so much time worrying about our religious selves. We need to worry about true goodness, a true goodness that expresses itself in our relationship with each other. A true goodness that fills us, that filled with the virtues of the kingdom, filled with the teachings of Jesus, filled with the example of Jesus, we allow ourselves to become lights in the world. Jesus doesn't talk about church buildings ever in his teachings. Jesus doesn't talk about liturgy ever in his teachings. Jesus talks about being good people in the world. He sends his disciple to be cities on a hill. He sends his disciples to be those who do good works, inspired by who Jesus was and what Jesus did. We do our good works in the world, not in the building. The building can become the bushel basket that hides the good works. And we need to be careful as religious. We need to be careful as Christians that we understand that we're sent by Jesus Christ into the world to preach the good news by our lives and by our actions. By our words too. But we need to go out into the world. Remember that our Holy Father Dominic founded a new kind of religious life that got us out from church walls, got us out from monastery buildings. It's one of the frustrating things about this time in my life as a preacher. Finally, in my Dominican life, I get to be a traveling preacher. I get to be someone who goes out and preaches. And all of a sudden, the frustration of being locked behind the walls. I didn't enter Carthusian life. I didn't enter Cistercian life. I didn't enter Benedictine life. I entered to be a Dominican, to follow the one who told me to go into the world and take the gospel into the world. My brothers and sisters, my brothers, students, especially as you continue to discern your religious life, understand that this is what Jesus is calling you to do. Yes, study. Yes, pray. Yes, fast. Yes, give alms. But understand that as followers of St. Dominic, we're called to take the goodness of our Christian life out into the world, and in doing Christian things, in living Christian lives, and being Christian people, we become that light set on the hill. We become salt with full flavor to season the world, to offer some preservation in the world. But we also become bright, bright lights by our actions, by being Christians in the world. We draw others to our Heavenly Father, that they see our good works, and in seeing our good works, give praise to God. I've been impressed reading and listening today to the news about this 75-year-old man who was injured at a protest in Buffalo last weekend. 75-year-old Catholic man who, as a retired man, has gone from place to place doing good with his life. That's why he was in Buffalo. He was protesting racism and police brutality. He's gone to lots of protests, but he also works with Dorothy Day, Catholic worker, and brings good work by his actions because his faith teaches him that's what he's supposed to do. Because his faith taught him that he's supposed to bring the goodness that he has. Retired man, 75 years old, and puts his life out there serving other people and doing good. I'm so inspired by that. But the reason I'm inspired by that is because that looks like Jesus to me. That looks like what Jesus said, did, taught, what he sent us to do, to be good in the world, that others might be drawn to their Heavenly Father. When I pray the Eucharistic prayer today, I'm going to use the Eucharistic prayer for various needs, number 4, and the distinct part of that fourth iteration of that Eucharistic prayer says this: inspire us with words and actions to comfort those who labor and are burdened. Make us serve them truly after the example of Christ and at his command. And may your church stand as a living witness to truth and freedom, to peace and justice, that all people may be raised to a new hope. That's what our religion is supposed to inspire us to answer the call of Jesus to go into the world. That's what our religion is supposed to equip us to do, to give us energy to do, to fuel our light on a lampstand, that others might see our good works and give praise to our Heavenly Father.